Friday the 13th is one of the most infamous games on the NES, released in 1989 by LJN. The mere mention of the name is enough to send a cold shudder down the spine of any retro gamer. Though emulators, save states, and walkthrough videos have made the game far less frustrating over the years, Friday the 13th still routinely shows up on most of the lists you'll find as one of the hardest NES games of all time. Today, as the channel turns 15 years old, we'll revisit this retro classic and focus on the easiest, most efficient way to beat the game. Man, talk about deja vu. Well friends, here we are. Welcome to this brand new take on an old classic, and how fitting that on the 15th anniversary of the channel, we go back to the game that pretty well started it all here. My playthrough of Friday the 13th in 2008 was the very first video I ever made for YouTube. Man, I can't believe it's been 15 years since I put that thing together. God damn! Today we dive back in, and this time, we're going to focus on the quickest way to find the torch, which is the strongest weapon in the game, along with the pitchfork, but you can't get that till day 3, so the torch you can find right away. This method was brought to my attention some years back by a fellow YouTuber, Matt Beckel, but the method itself, it's been out there for quite a while now. I think there's even one video showing how to do it that's been on YouTube since like 2006, so I'm definitely not going to be breaking any new ground here. But for those of you who might be unaware, there's a super fast way to beat Friday the 13th without having to light a single fireplace. Our main focus is going to be this cabin right here, which, ironically, is the same cabin you find the torch in if you take the long way around and light the fireplaces and you're following the messages that pop up along the way. We're going to skip right over all of that and life hack, Crystal Lake. I think I'm going to change it up a little from what I normally do and use Chrissy here. She's not too far from that cabin, and on day 2 I might just go get the sweater just for the hell of it. So, as we get started here, the first thing we want to do is start killing zombies. We want to get the lighter. Of course, we are ignoring the fireplaces on this run, but you have to get the lighter in order for other items to pop. And we just picked up that dagger, and the dagger is what we need to let's see.
Where's Paul?
Go ahead and take care of this here right quick. Rock and roll, baby. But now that we have the dagger, we can go to that big cabin I pointed out, and that message about going to the woods should pop. For whatever reason, it does not until you pick up the dagger. Probably just a typical game progression thing. So, jumping around a little bit more because we will need the key, but for the present time, we are at the cabin. So let's go in and have a look around. We are going to go up and to the right, and here's the message. So we'll hit select and take it. Tells us to go into the woods. So we'll go ahead and exit out and start heading that way. And hopefully we will get the key, because you can't get into Jason's shack without it.
Get out your seat and jump around. Jump around.
Get those red vitamins. Yeah, sure, whatever. Just waiting to get that key to pop here. It is pretty sporadic at times. Sometimes you'll get it right away at the start of the game. Other times it'll make you wait. Now the kids are being attacked, which is a hell of a thing to say for an NES game from the 80s. There we go. Now we can get in here. And I've read that you need to back out and then go in. Personally, more often than not, the message is here without having to back out. And there it is. So, didn't have to do it this time, but good rule of thumb, if you want to back out and go back in, go right ahead. For me, I kind of like to see if it's there. I just walk in and start looking for it. I like finding stuff. Alright, so go down here, and here, Back to the big cabin here, and we should find the torch in there waiting for us. We just go up and tap down, and there we are. And that was extremely fast. That we have one of the most powerful weapons in the game. Now we need to get our asses over to the children. Chrissy's rowing speed kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We'll deal with it. Well, looks like we lost a couple.
Oopsie daisy.
There's the big guy. Long time no see, my friend. Alright. As you can see, that torch does destructive damage to Jason. As we work our way back to shore. And let's go Jason hunting. I figured he wouldn't be far. Who's he after now?
Hey, McFly!
Bringing out the heavy artillery now. Pop. Yeah. So, I'm gonna take a chance here. Oh shit. Come here, big boy. Did you go down this way? Nope. I'll get him. Let's light him up. Well, that was fast. God, I don't have a time count here, but we can't be more than, I don't know, 6-7 minutes into the gameplay. And we're already on day 2. So I'm just going to stick with Chrissy. And for the hell of it, I'm going to run over to the cave here, pay a visit to Jason's mother, and snatch that sweater. And let's take it to her here. Looking like a Medusa head. Oh. It's actually kind of surprising to me how many licks from that torch that she takes. We've got the sweater, which, contrary to what the instruction manual says, does not stop Jason from attacking you. Guess they were playing off the movie lore from the scene with Part 2 with Amy Steele, but not so for the video game. Jason does not care about that sweater. Alright. Let's go get him. This looks like the one. And Mark getting a nice vacation on this video. He's normally the guy I use the most, for those of you who are familiar with the older videos I've done on this game. Mark's always my top guy, but figured I'd change it up here for this one. And we are on the hunt. Did you go in here? It's always a good idea to check any possible pathways that are around for you to interact with when you fight Jason in one of these houses, or when he springs up on you out of nowhere on the regular map, kind of like now. His pathway is unpredictable at times, but when you go after him, I mean, you can generally find him in most cases. Got lucky there in the woods. I just took a random guess, and he happened to be there. And now I'm curious if he's gone back. Let's see. Did you take off in here? He sure did. And once again, we lay him out in the woods. How ironic is that? Alright. Day 3. Man, feels like we're moving fast here. And I'm going to backtrack to the spot where I saw him last. I don't know if it carries over from day to day, but Figured, what the hell? Maybe we'll run into him again. Maybe not. Of course. Alright, well, while we're here, this is his shack on day 3. Let's take a quick look around and see if there's anything here. Any messages or weapons or whatnot. Wouldn't be surprised if we encounter the axe on the way out. Sure enough, there it is, that big-ass toothbrush. Showing back up again. Yeah, of course the game wants you to grab that. I'm sure the question's been asked, who actually are leaving these notes that lead to these weapons? I mean, is it Tommy Jarvis? Is it one of the final girls? Or is it an unknown? Like a ghostwriter taking care of things for us. Alright. Well, I'm gonna say it. He's in cocaine overdrive. This is day 3. And fighting him inside the cabins can be a chore, especially if you're not well equipped. But there's a predictable pattern here. It's very easy to learn. I suppose the challenge is maintaining this pace and I guess maintaining your thumb stamina to continue dodging his attacks. You'll eventually drive him off. And let's resume the hunt. Day 3, you definitely want to find him outside as much as possible. You can inflict the heaviest damage the fastest, and while you're going to take some damage if you have the red vitamins, as long as you have the torch or the pitchfork, I've never had an instance where the vitamins didn't do the trick and keep me alive long enough to put him down. So we actually got ahead of him there. I think he was following us and then decided to go after Laura here as a consolation prize, maybe. Alright, back at it. And again, predictable pattern like we've covered in the past. I mean, there's been a million videos on this game at this point in time, so I'm definitely not telling you anything that you don't already know. I mean, unless by chance this current video of mine is the first time you've experienced anything to do with this game. Yeah, he don't want none. Let's get him. Boom! Give me that! She got it too. Nice. Well, that was easy. This is one of the hardest NES games of all time, huh?
I beg to differ.
Yeah, definitely. So, that's how you get the torch really quickly. Now, I am curious. I wonder if you ignore everything. I'm going to start a new game here. And I'm going to ignore the Jason alarm. I'm not going to worry about the kids or other counselors. I'm going to try to get this torch as fast as possible. And let's time it here. Just out of curiosity, how quick can we get this done? And obviously it does kind of depend on getting a favorable draw with the item spawns here. Dagger did pop in a reasonable amount of time, so we go inside the cabin, get the note, and we will set off for the woods. I am not worried about the Jason alarm. Of course, we do need the key, and hopefully the game will be a bit more charitable with that than it was last time. Almost went back for that medicine. They're out of habit. Oh, there we go. Not too bad. And I'm going to back out and go back in just for time constraints here, since we're trying to make time. Yada yada. And let's head back to the cabin. Here we are. Go up, hit down, and there she is. Whoa, 1 minute, 18 seconds. We have the strongest weapon in the game. That's pretty good. That's a hell of a method for this. So, you know what? Screw it. I'll go through it again. Don't feel like signing off just yet. I do enjoy this game quite a bit. I've probably been one of the loudest defenders of it over the years. Although I do freely acknowledge, when we encountered this thing as kids back in the 80s, things were a little bit different there. Man, boy, he's a glutton for that punishment. Come back here. Which way did he go? Don't want to get too careless here. I had a feeling he was heading that way.
Just the kids.
But when we encountered this game as kids back in the 80s, things were a little bit different there. The instruction manual had some misinformation in it. The game was tough to figure out. Any one of your friends at school or the neighborhood or whatever that you talked to about it, pretty much everybody had the same opinion. It was really hard, really frustrating, and a lot of people just gave up. And, when I first encountered it, I didn't know what the hell to do. I mean, the very first thing you read is use the torch to light the fireplaces. You're like, what? The torch, where's that? You finally find the fireplace, and if you happen to have the lighter by then, you notice it got lit, which doesn't make any sense. The instruction manual also says that you need the fireplaces in order to keep the torch burning, which makes absolutely no sense. So, I can see why people thought it was hard back in the day. The World Wide Web wasn't exactly a thing in 1989. And even if it had been, I doubt there would have been a plethora of information on this game and how to navigate it successfully, so you were pretty much on your own back then. Nowadays, it's kind of like when a movie, there's certain novelties about a movie that don't quite hold up over time. The challenge of this game, I think, is the exact same thing. I think that's a fair comparison. It does not hold up in 2023. So, I can't help but giggle whenever I see these top 10 lists, and top 10, top 20, Friday the 13th is almost always on them. One of the ones I screenshotted for the intro of the video, it was number 1, and I laughed, like, you gotta be kidding me. I can think of 10 games off the top of my head that are way harder than this one. But, again, that's how it was perceived back then. It's kind of more of it's not an urban myth, because it actually was difficult back in the day, but it's kind of a myth now, present day, just due to the passage of time and the information and what we know about it today. Jason's look in this game has been a big curiosity piece over the years, with fans wondering why he looks so off in the game versus the movies. Well, for starters, this is the NES, an 8-bit console that came out in 1985. Putting it in perspective, this old calculator has more processing power. So for you young cats, you guys that are more used to the way Jason looks in that newer Friday the 13th game from 2017, yeah, expectations gonna need to be tempered quite a bit. But having said that, focusing on the two weirdest aspects of his look here, of course being the purpley blue jumpsuit and this green glowy kind of look on his head and hands. First thing to point out, although the game was published by American-based company LJN, it was actually developed by a Japanese team named Atlas, and it's been said that the team didn't have a lot of reference material on Jason's appearance outside of his depiction on this popular program for Friday the 13th Part 3D, which shows Jason in the eerily similar bluish hue that we see here. And also, the game was being developed right around the same time that Jason Takes Manhattan was in production, so it's possible promotional materials for the upcoming movie may have also been sourced by the team. But why the jumpsuit? Well, here's my 2 cents. Check out the instruction manual. See anything a little strange? Jason is clearly Roy from Friday 5 here, jumpsuit and all. Rest in peace, Carol Locatell. And this is the actual book that shipped with the game that clearly says printed in Japan on the back of it. So I think it's pretty evident these guys didn't have a concrete visual on what Jason actually looks like. And now that emulators have made it possible to see these games in more detail than ever, let's look at one more thing. If you look at Jason from the side here, you can see what I believe to be the 8-bit rendition of the light blue chevrons from Roy's mask in A New Beginning, as they appear to be flaring outward instead of facing in, like Jason's red chevrons from Part 3 and 4. So for me personally, that's telling enough that I feel like his game likeness here was incorrectly patterned after Roy. But unless somebody actually tracks these guys down from that development team and asks them, unfortunately, we're all left to speculate.
Hey, kids!
Looks like a big bottle of grape Dimetap. Cough syrup from when we were kids. How do they still make that stuff? It was good. It was one of the silver linings about getting sick back in the day. It's like, ooh, I get to drink Dimetap. Keep that Robitussin far away from me, though. Ah, that shit'll kill you. I'd rather be sick. Damn. He ain't wasting any time, is he? Oh. Yeah, I think he knows it's his ass. Day 3, boy. All bets are off at this point. Primary objective is just get after him. Definitely don't want to mess around right now. And once again, I am just taking a wild guess. You know, when Jason disappears from the main map, it seems pretty plausible that he would be in the woods more often than not. And, yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you, game? Nope. But, evolution. Once again, Jason's a thinking man's killer. He knew what happened to him the last couple of times he retreated in there. Yeah, he's far away this time. Probably banking on the fact that we're going to switch over to the counselor with the rocks and try to fight him at this point. Yeah, that's not going to happen. We will just happily stroll on over and crash this party. How you doing, Mark? All right, here we go. Oh, damn, he just donkey punched me. Don't get careless with Big J. This is still like a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out fight. You can't take too many of those, if you know what I'm saying. Oddly enough, he's not retreating into these bigger cabins, as is usually the case. I find him in there more often than not, right after driving him away from one of the counselors, but there we go. Last stand. So this is how you get the torch really fast. You can blast through this game if you want to take a few minutes and check it out. Top hardest NES games of all time? I strongly disagree. One of the hardest NES games of the late 80s, early 90s? Sure, I'll agree with that. It was pretty confusing back then. Today, though, not so much. So anybody out there, if you're thinking about making a list of the hardest NES games of all time, I implore you, leave this one off. And that's going to do it for this one. This has been a fun look back on a game that was a huge part of my childhood, and I hope that future generations will continue to go back in time and check it out. Guys, thank you so much for following the channel and supporting it. It's hard to fathom 15 years have already passed, but here we are. The channel currently sits at just over 33,000 subs, and I believe we're nearing 12 million overall views, which honestly is a lot more than I ever thought I'd get. I'm just an 80s guy having some fun out here, and I hope you all enjoy the content as much as I do making it. As always, thanks for watching, happy gaming, be well, and we'll see you next time. Time to go get a bourbon. Is this my lucky day or my last? You fucking serious? Holy shit. Oh, you are the man! I can't believe this.